Hi, Begrudged Book Club fans. My name is Sarah.
My name is Jared.
Here on the Begrudged Book Club podcast, myself and a guest each have a turn picking out a favorite book and forcing the other person to read it.
Aw, crap. I gotta read this book?
The Begrudged Book Club.
Since this is our first episode, I took the liberty in picking out our first book club read, and that book is Twilight.
Yay.
I'm not trying to torture Jared. He likes the movies, but he's never read the books.
This is true.
It's only fair that he reads at least the first book.
Yeah. Quick word on my experience with the movies. I always have enjoyed them, and I will freely admit that. I see them as good popcorn entertainment. A little bit of a guilty pleasure, unintentional comedy at times, but overall just watchable. Did they ever inspire me to want to actually read any of the books for myself? Not really, but that's exactly what I did. So we're going to get into it here.
Bella Swan is a 17-year-old introverted girl who moved from Phoenix, Arizona to Forks, Washington on the Olympic Peninsula to live with her father, Charlie Swan, the town's police chief.
And can I just say, I think Charlie is, do you agree with this? I think Charlie is like the only sensible person in the entire book. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Yes.
Her mother, Renee Dwyer. Now, can I say, was that name ever used in the book? I don't recall Renee having a last name, but maybe I'm just tripping. I don't know. Okay, Renee Dwyer is traveling with her new husband, Phil Dwyer, a minor league baseball player. Bella is admitted to Forks High School.
Now, the other thing I wondered too, now this is the Wikipedia description, and don't worry, we will analyze and interject and talk. We're just using that for plot summary. But do you have to be admitted to a high school? It's a public high school. Why does it say admitted?
Well, admitted because the school's similar to a psych ward, so I suppose that would require an admission.
Yeah, there are a bunch of weirdos at the school, not least of which are, the lead male character and his family, but we'll get there.
So Bella is admitted to Forks High School, where she easily settles in with a group of friends. A somewhat inexperienced and shy girl, Bella is dismayed by several boys competing for her attention.
Yeah, the worst of which is Mike Newton, or as I like to refer to him, Mike Newton. Let me tell you, I was so entirely sick of hearing about this whiny, creepy little man and his obsession with her, and it had no bearing on the overall plot. It was just annoying. He's a D-list character who just somehow gets discussed repeatedly as I was annoyed. It was terrible.
Mike Newton is a stage 5 clinger. He may be worse than Edward because Bella just flat out rejects his advances. And there's another girl at the school who obviously has a crush on him, and he just takes big dumps on her to go after Bella, who obviously has no interest in him.
I'm going to go so far as to say I think that Mike Newton is the most reprehensible character ever presented in all of literature. No, not really, but he sucks. He's annoying. All right, so what you just heard described, her moving to town, school, boys obsessed, yeah. Okay, so that was all the first 22 pages of the book. We kind of went through and marked up milestones as we progressed through this description. So far, not too bad. That's a decent pace. 22 pages isn't too many. We're, setting the scene, a little exposition, a little character development, so okay. So far, so good, but...
So far, so good. On the first day of her school, Bella sits next to Edward in biology class, but he seems to be utterly repulsed by her, much to her bewilderment. He disappears for a few days, but when he returns, he is unexpectedly friendly to Bella. Their newfound relationship is interrupted after Bella is nearly struck by a van in the school parking lot. Edward saves Bella, narrowly stopping the van with his bare hands. Bella questions Edward about how he saved her life, but he refuses to tell her anything concrete.
All right, so, that's, again, not bad. It's some interesting stuff, but here's the problem. You would think that at that point you would be maybe 30, 40, 50 pages in. No. We are now 112 pages into the book, and that is literally all that has happened so far. So the pacing of this was a little, it was lagging, I'll just say. Also, I'd like to point out, this is really bizarre. The word vampire was not used by a character until page 126, which is about a fourth of the way through this 500 page novel.
But vampire is actually said in the
On the back cover
synopsis of the
Yes.
book. First, Edward was a vampire.
Yes.
That's the line.
So, yeah, because the reason that we brought that up and that I had asked about that was because I said, well,
That's a big ass mystery. Like, it's like
right.
Edward is a
Yeah.
vampire.
Like, why are they hiding the ball? I was like, okay, maybe when it came out, it was supposed to be a mystery. Maybe I just don't think that because it got so well known in pop culture that everybody just knows it. But no, like, they told you, but then for whatever reason, they pretend like you don't know and you're trying to figure out what he is. It's very bizarre. In addition to the incredibly slow pacing and the dubious mystery of what the lead male character actually is, which everybody knows, and you can tell by looking at him if you see any kind of drawing or photo. Anyways, we're also tormented with these endless circular and contradictory conversations and descriptions that just go on and are repeated and repeated for, dozens, it feels like hundreds, thousands of pages. Like, for instance, Edward, I'm paraphrasing, all right, but it's essentially his whole point of dialogue to, Bella is like, oh, I want to be with you, but I can't. I'm bad for you. You should stay away, but please don't. Like, it's just like, back and forth.
If that isn't like the teen girl romance, ultimate trope, though.
Okay, but this is just like, we get it. He's conflicted.
It's a lot.
Like,
yeah.
You can show that someone's conflicted and not just repeat the same thing over and over. And then, beyond that, like, we get these weird, this dude, okay, I think he's like, you talk about the psych ward. I think this guy is like insane. I would call it like a bipolar on steroids, okay, because he will literally be frowning, smiling, glaring, laughing.
Well, he's dead. His brain cells. I don't think the synapses are just not synapsing.
Yeah, but I mean, he's like playing like classical pieces of music on the piano without trying and like getting every biology question right. So I don't think he's like mentally incompetent.
Okay, but is he crazier than Mike Newton?
No one is crazier than Mike Newton.
All right. So at this point, Bella has 3 guys pining after her, not including Edward, and that is Mike Newton, Eric, don't know his last name.
Don't care.
Tyler almost hit Bella with a van. Don't know his last name.
Does he have a last name?
I don't know. Don't care.
Yeah. Her mom barely got a last name.
And they all are obsessed with Bella.
Yes. There's like something in the water in this town. Okay. It turns you into a supernatural creature if you're like of a certain bloodline. And if you're just a normal person, it just makes you like a raving bag.
Let's move on.
Okay.
During a camp out, Bella meets Jacob Black, a local boy from the Quillette tribe, right?
It's actually Quileute.
Quileute.
But that's better than earlier when you were saying the Quaalude tribe. So, I mean, we'll take what we can get.
She learns from stories told at a bonfire with his tribe that Edward and his family are
the cold ones.
Or vampires.
Vampires. That's the word that we don't seem to want to use in this vampire novel.
Oh, no. Who consume only animal blood.
So, disturbed and riddled by these recurring nightmares, Bella then researches, dare we say, vampires? She compares the characteristics of the vampires in the mythology that she reads about to the Cullens, and she becomes convinced that Edward is a vampire. Okay, so we're getting somewhere, right? All right, so Bella is saved by Edward again in Port Angeles when she is almost attacked by a group of men. Furious, Edward drives Bella away and takes her to a restaurant for dinner and then back home.
Oh my gosh, so eventful.
Well, the attack kind of was.
I mean, that was just blood pumping entertainment right there.
But, what? Furious old Edward drives Bella away and takes her to a restaurant for dinner and then back home. On the way, she tells him how she knows that he is a vampire. Edward finally confirms her belief and confesses that Bella's blood is more desirable to him than anyone else's, and that he wanted to kill her on the first day of school. So when she was like, why is he looking at me like he hates me so much he wants to kill me? Like literally he does. But only because he's hungry, not because he's, sadistic or evil. He tried to stay away from Bella to avoid hurting her, but over time, Edward and Bella fell in love. May I add, much to the chagrin of Mike Newton. Now, okay, so that was actually like some stuff. Okay, but the problem is,
where are we at in the book?
Yeah, you would think we'd be about 100 pages in, 150 pages in. No. Get this. Okay, if you're not sitting, please sit. We are now 374 pages into this book. I am not joking. 374 or 75% of the way through this 500-page book. And I think we've had about 50 pages of excitement in this book. Now, why were you so hard-pressed to convince me that this was the great read that I had been missing out on all these years? And I just, if I read the novel, it would be so great.
The last time I read this book was in high school. And you know what? I think this might be one of the only cases in the history of forever in which the movie may be better than the book.
Yeah.
I'm not being sacrilege, but...
I don't think sacrilege is going to play a part in this picture. And yeah, I would agree. I think
if the pacing was... I think if this book was 300 pages, it would be great.
Yeah, like 300 snappy pages. If the whole book
was edited, if it was condensed, this would be flipping amazing. You have to agree.
Yeah, right? Yeah, it would.
Yeah.
Because honestly, like at this point, okay, now there is the sparkling, which, I mean, my reference point for a vampire novel is Dracula, so I'm not with the sparkling. But if you can put that aside, like the plot is, I think, actually kind of like there's cool elements, there's cool ideas, but the execution, the pacing, the dialogue, it leaves a lot to be desired. I'll just say
hardly anything happens in the first half of this book.
Yeah, like literally nothing happens. Now things did. I guess they'd started to get like slightly more interesting, if you want to be fair, around about page 260, which is again still far too in. But that is when Edward started to finally explain to Bella like the mechanics of the vampires in this universe and how things work. He went into some backstory and history about his family, so it's like okay, but still
after the meadow scene, which is like page 250, where he starts letting
finally like explaining things and not just brooding and rambling in circular monologues or dialogues. But the problem is like still this all should have happened well before page 200. One thing that Wikipedia didn't mention, so we're just adding this into the summary, it's not just Edward. We kind of alluded to this, but he lives with a whole family of vampires. The head of the family is Carlisle, the town doctor, and why am I blanking on the names of the other ones? You tell them who the other ones are.
Are you good?
I think this gave me brain damage.
Alice,
right? Jasper,
Rosalie, Emmett. Yeah.
What's the lady's name?
Esme.
Okay. Oh, right. How can I forget that? Yeah. So, anyways, it's not just Edward. There's like a slew of these people who look like basically like circa 2010 Hot Topic models with eyes that alternate between like red and yellow. It's like as if it was meant for like a teen movie and merchandise, right?
Right.
but it's like, yeah, basically like these people walk around looking like they're from another planet at a minimum, and like nobody seems to notice. And I don't know. There's a lot of potential with this family, but we only kind of scratch the surface of their history, and then we just quickly move on to more nothing. All right, so now that we are, as I said, 75% of the way through this massive tome of a book, things are finally about to start getting objectively exciting and will thank God, stay that way for the duration. So tell them what happens next.
All right. Their relationship is affected when a nomadic vampire coven arrives in Forks. James, a tracker vampire who is intrigued by Edward's relationship with a human, wants to hunt Bella for sport. Bella and Edward are forced to separate as Bella escapes with Alice and Jasper, which, let me remind you, that's Edward's brother and sister, to hide in a hotel in Phoenix. James calls Bella and claims to be holding her mother hostage.
Yeah, should we talk about
Yeah.
that? We talked about this while we were reading, about this plot hole with this phone call.
Yeah.
So we're made, very privy to the fact that the vampires have superhuman senses, including strength, smell, hearing, everything else.
Yeah.
And somehow she's in a hotel room with two vampires, but...
Well, to be fair, I think Jasper stepped out, but Alice should have
Okay, well, one vampire...
been able to hear the conversation that she was having.
Yes. And the fact that there's somebody on the other line whispering would not prevent a vampire from hearing what was being said, based on the fact that they can literally hear people from like across town. So I thought that was a kind of a big plot hole, because like this entire sequence of events that we're about to get into hinges on the fact that James calls her and she answers and Alice doesn't hear. So
all right. So anyways, Bella, being a dumbass, sneaks out, hurries to save her mother. When she arrives, she finds out that the hostage claim was a ruse.
Shocker.
James attacks her, but before he can kill her, she is rescued by Edward and the other Cullens who kill James. However, James has already bitten Bella. Edward prevents Bella from becoming a vampire by sucking the venom out of her wound, and she is treated at a hospital using the story that she fell out of a window as an excuse.
What is really funny, I don't think we mentioned this, but Bella is like superhumanly clumsy throughout this entire, like to the point where I really think that there's got to be like something wrong with her. Like it's not just like it's literally sad. It's not just like an endearing like personality quirk. Like it's like literally like she just like falls down randomly. So like that's the ironic thing, is everybody believes that she actually fell through a window, and they don't question, and they also don't seem to like wonder if like it's connected to, you would think people would suspect like domestic violence or something. She's all beat up, but like after she runs away with Edward, but no, they just like take it for granted, like she is that clumsy. So like yes, she fell through a window and broke everything.
After they return to Forks, Edward takes her to the school prom, as Edward did not want Bella to miss any normal human experience because of him. However, Bella is literally sobbing in the car on the way to prom. That's how bad she doesn't want to go. And Edward's like, "You're going. Like,
And
deal
also,
with it." Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and also Tyler's sobbing as he stands on her doorstep by himself, because
waiting for her.
He thought she was going to the prom with him, even though he never asked her. I don't know.
Bella tells Edward that she wants to become like him, a vampire, but Edward reiterates he is against this. Bella's desire to become a vampire increases throughout the series. Edward continues to refuse to turn her, as he thinks being a vampire is being a monster and like losing your soul, and does not want Bella to suffer the same fate.
So that sounds like they're setting the stage for more internal conflict in the sequels. So do we get like the random, like the random rambling repetitive back and forth about to turn or not to turn? Do we get that in the sequels for like hundreds of pages on end?
Yeah.
Okay. Something that was not mentioned, another thing that wasn't mentioned by Wikipedia, another conflict that's kind of established that will persist throughout the series, which I know just from seeing the movies, is this Edward versus Jacob, right? Team Edward, Team Jacob, and the love triangle with Bella. So this kind of the scene gets set for this when Jacob, who we hadn't really seen much of since he told Bella about the vampire and werewolf mythology, but we see him show up at the prom, and he gives Bella a warning that his tribe knows about the Cullens and they will be watching. So whatever that means, they will be watching.
He did it for $20.
And he did it for $20.
His dad gave him $20 to do that.
Say everyone has a price. Oh, and by the way, Jacob and all the other members of his tribe, the Quileute tribe, which is a real Indian tribe actually in Washington State, they're werewolves, genetic werewolves. So I wonder, how do you think the tribe? I need to look and see on the internet if there's a discussion. Like, how did the tribe feel about this? I wonder.
Being in Twilight. So let's hear your final thoughts on the book.
Okay, so I was just kind of shitting on this book because, like, I'm a jackass. But, like, to be honest, I really, really liked the last, like, 100, 150 pages, whatever it was, when it started getting good. When it started to finally get good, 75% of the way into the book, it was really good, like, for, like, 100 solid pages. So the problem is, trying to give this book a rating, let's say we're going out of 5 stars, I would give the first half of the book at a minimum like 1 star or maybe 2. But then the second half of the book, I would probably give 4 stars because the last 100 pages I would give like 5 stars. So I'm conflicted. I think overall my star rating would be like, it's actually, this is probably going to be higher than what you would think.
You have 2.5 to 3.
Between 2.5 and 3 out of 5 stars is what I would give it in final assessment. And I realize even that is probably higher than what you thought at first, but it does have redeeming qualities. It's just, there is so much to get through that is just so painfully slow. I don't know. What rating would you give it?
I agree with Jared, and I think my evil plan to make Jared read this book may have backfired slightly. Like I said, I haven't read it since high school, and maybe some things are better left in the past. I am a hoe for the movies. I will watch the movies like every year. That the pacing's quicker, and that's the reason that I would give this book maybe like a 3.5 stars.
Really?
Overall.
Okay.
Overall. And I'm not gonna pick like, oh, this first part's a 1, you know, the second part's a
Well, I
4.
gave it 2.5.
I'm doing.
Are we allowed to do 0.5s? I didn't even ask you if we're allowed to do half stars. So 2.5.
3.5.
3.5. So your average is.
Take this off. I'm not a fan.
Your average is.
I'm a damn poser now.
Your average is 3.
Shoot.
It's what, 60%? Is that good? I don't know. I guess that's pretty good. That's okay. So let's end it on a positive note, though. I like to see the good in everything. Like I said, it has redeeming qualities. Yeah. There's a reason why it was so popular.
I mean, it was popular. So, it was like a nationwide phenomenon. Yeah, that's positive.
And I know you loved it, right? So
oh my God, yeah.
Talk about what you loved about it and what you. I know you still like it.
Well, I wasn't allowed to read it. My mom was kind of strict on me growing up, and I wasn't. It was a vampire book, and we were pretty strict Christians. I wasn't allowed to read it for the longest time. So I started with the movies. So I got a little bit older.
So that was like your wild. That was your wild teen rebellion, like to read Twilight.
I guess.
I'm sorry.
It was the same for Harry Potter, but yeah, I just started with the movies, and I was like, damn, it actually got my mom to watch all movies, and she liked it, of course.
And she's like, oh, these aren't so satanic.
She liked it, yeah. And then I was like, well, I'll just go back and read the books, and.
Oh, so you did it in? I didn't know that. You did it in reverse order too. You read the you watched the movies and then read the books. Okay. Yeah. So, what's your favorite part of it?
Of the saga?
Yeah.
My favorite book, probably. I don't like New Moon. I don't like Jacob. That's the Jacob book. I'm gonna have to say, and Breaking Dawn's good. It's pretty long. I feel like Breaking Dawn could have been condensed. It is good. I feel like Eclipse might be my favorite because. Okay. The love triangle was like in full swing,
that, the third
and there
one?
Was drama.
That's the third one, right?
Yeah.
I don't think I'm ever gonna make it there. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but yeah, that's my take. So
okay, yeah, my take was that like I think that there are reasons why it was so popular. I'm a little baffled by the degree to which it became popular after having read it, but I will say I'm sure it must have tapped into the zeitgeist of what people wanted to read. I know that there's this whole subgenre out there called teen paranormal romance, and did that pretty much start with Twilight? I feel like it probably did.
It was probably one of the beginning.
I mean, it was definitely at least like playing off of the popularity of Twilight. I know at that time, so it must have just been something that people were thirsting for.
No, it was the earliest.
No pun intended.
Where teen vampires were
and apparently, you know, if nobody's fulfilling a desire, somebody's going to step in and do it. So this was the
You
book.
go, Stephanie.
Yeah, you go,
You
Stephanie.
go,
Meyer.
Stephanie. And can I just say, Rob and Kristen, y'all didn't deserve to hate you. God, you did the best with what you were working with. You should be proud. They didn't have much to work with, people. They did great.
I mean, yeah, I've read it, so I mean.
All right, we're done. So, Jared, would you like to announce our next book club read since it is finally your turn?
Yes. Our next read will be Dune by Frank Herbert.
That's his name, Frank Herbert. That's a dorky ass name.
It's kind of a darky book,
Okay, I'm sorry.
but awesome.
I'm sorry, Frank.
Well, that's okay. We're cutting all this.
No.
May thy knife chip and shatter.
May thy knife chip and shatter. Oh, and before we go, I'd like to plug Sarah's book. She's too humble to do it herself. Well, actually, no, that's not true. But anyways, Sarah has a book out called Lucid, and I'm going to read you really quickly the Amazon synopsis of Lucid. Lydia Arcadia, a young woman who has just recently reached adulthood, finds herself coping with the unexpected death of her parents while simultaneously struggling to support herself financially and emotionally, as well as battling feelings of anxiety and isolation. While working at a diner, she meets Kane Crawford, a mature and mysterious man with whom she initially has an embarrassing encounter. However, once he starts coming back regularly, their interactions become more and more emotionally involved. Eventually, through a series of shocking circumstances, their lives become so tightly intertwined that Lydia cannot imagine a life without him. That is, until another mysterious character provides her with a frightening new perspective and makes her begin to question the nature of her reality altogether. Lydia becomes aware of the existence of individuals with extraordinary abilities, is shown visions of alien planets, and somehow still feels like she has only scratched the surface of what is going on. And believe you me, she truly has only scratched the surface of what is going on. Filled with building suspense while never losing its tender emotional core, the mind-bending, genre-defying novel Lucid blurs the lines between dreams and reality while blending science fiction, romance, and even a little of the old high school drama. Lucid, the novel by Sarah Madden, available for sale now. It is incredible. I know I am biased, but it's amazing. Just look at the reviews. It's sweet. So you guys got to check out Sarah's novel, Lucid. All right. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks for listening.